Welcome everybody to this week's special episode of Ro-JoSports. I'm your host Rob. I'm gonna toe the rubber and pitch it over to my main man Joe.
And then I'm gonna frame it for the strike three, throw it back.
Perfect. Now let's knock this interview out of the park as we welcome three-time National Coach of the Year, Brian Brewer, to the plate. How's it going?
Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, appreciate you for coming on. Wanted to give you this time at the beginning of the interview to promote your training, BSB, what that all includes, where it's trained at, all the things. So go ahead. The floor is yours, my friend.
So I just finished my second month of lessons. I'm basically doing monthly plans. First month, which we did at Movement because school is still in session. The local elementary and junior high and all that stuff were still in school. So we went evenings at Movement Fitness. Basically Monday through Thursday, we've got like a 5 o'clock group and a 6 o'clock group. Usually the groups are somewhere between 2 and 4. And then for the last 4 weeks, this is the fourth week of our second session right now. We're actually going out at Pioneer Park, Merida College Baseball's home field. Again, week 4 of 4, doing lessons. Now we've moved to the morning. So again, Monday through Thursday, we have a pitching group at 9 a.m. each of those days, and we have a hitting group at 10 a.m. each of those days. And I'm pretty full. I got about 20 kids right now between those 4 days. Split up in those groups, and the group size is usually somewhere between 3 and 4. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Little Sluggers, the Marietta local
Yeah, a
kind
little
of
bit.
travel squad, but I got bunch of those guys, and all of the kids are somewhere between the ages of 9 and 13. And this is the last week of the second month, and then next week, Monday through Wednesday, July 6th through 8th, we have our youth camp for 2nd through 8th graders, again out at Pioneer Park, home field of Merida College Baseball. And I'll probably take about a week off, and then we'll start another session late summer, and we'll get back into probably movement, next fall. We'll start going back indoors, but I'm mainly communicating all this stuff through Facebook and the social media stuff right now. You can just look me up, Brian Brewer on Facebook, or you can go to bsbbaseball.com. That's the camp website, and there'll be some information moving forward on lessons. In addition to that, the baseball lessons and camps, I'm also working for a group called CAA, which is College Athlete Advantage, kind of a recruiting service, which is a little bit of a bad word. I think sometimes gets a little bit of a bad rep, but just like everything else, there's good ones and bad ones. And this College Athlete Advantage, I'm in about my second month working with that group. It's been awesome. I've signed 5 kids, mostly Ohio, a couple West Virginia kids, mostly juniors, a couple kids that are going to be seniors. Pretty personal touch and something that I've really enjoyed. We get out and video the guys. We have about 20 regional advisors across the country, and I put that video together, and then all of us get in together, look at the video, do an evaluation, find out what the kid and the family want, what they're looking for, academic profile and such, and then we go to work for them. We kind of educate them on the process, market their kids, and then really advise them throughout the process, whether it's financial aid stuff or what schools they might fit at skill set wise. But BSB baseball lessons and camps, and then College Athlete Advantage recruiting service. Love it. Coached for well over 30 years at the college level, and I'm really enjoying staying involved with the game. But also, it's just not there's not as much going on administratively with this new phase in my life, and I'm excited. Thrilled with the success that I've had so far, and excited about the success to come.
Yeah, having 20 kids, 20 plus kids involved. That's a big deal here in the city of Marietta. I know ever since moving down here, it's been very soccer driven down here, which is awesome. Where Joe and I are from, soccer is important, out at Capstone, but it's not at the level of what down here is. I don't believe anyway. But it's nice to see that kids are involved in baseball down here too. So that's awesome. What inspired you to launch BSB Baseball after your coaching career?
I've had this LLC for about 8 years, BSB Baseball, and I just never really used it. And again, since I've moved on to this next chapter, it was kind of obvious that I needed to start making the most. I'm only 55, so I got a 13-year-old daughter. I'm financially able to retire yet, nor do I want to retire. Still think I have a lot left to give, and as much as this community, the entire Mid Ohio Valley really has given me over the last 30 plus years, I think it's only fair for me to give a little back, and I just enjoy it. I really do enjoy working with that 10 to 13 kind of age group. Lesson wise, instructionally, they're like sponges, man. They suck, they just suck everything up. Parents are pretty engaged, which I also enjoy. I think it helps them get a little more bang for their buck. And then the CAA side is just really enjoyable. I mean, I was probably a poster boy for how not to look and pick a college. Right? I was a first generation college kid, kind of came from an lower middle income family in Baltimore, Maryland, and just got lucky to end up at Marietta College. So I think if I can give these families some insight, ins and outs, and just kind of talk them through the process, hopefully they end up at the right place, and maybe we can help them out a little bit financially as well.
All right, Coach. So you've had lots of experience, and it sounds like over the past 40 years or so. Um, what's the biggest difference between training the athletes now compared to when you first started coaching?
Ah, man, that's a toughie. I think part of it, I think I've changed as much as they have. I will say that. I was talking to a group last week. I went and did a team talk at a high school in Cincinnati, and I told them, I was very fortunate. I graduated from Marietta College in '93, and I went to John Carroll University as a GA. So I was an assistant baseball coach working on my master's degree. Well, after 2 years, I was named the head coach at John Carroll University. So I was 24 years old, head college coach, and I can hindsight 2020 kind of thing, but I was not ready. So I almost feel sorry for those kids sometimes, and I think I've always been pretty competitive, but I was super competitive at 24. We got after it pretty good. I think I would be considered an old school kind of person, discipline, loyalty, commitment. I'm a yeller, always have been. Um, and I did a lot of that at 24. I think as I matured, progressed, had a daughter. Again, the daughter changes everything. If you guys don't realize that yet, but so I think some of those guys back in the day would have considered me really tough, and I think they come back and visit now. Even the John Carroll kids that I still talk to and have a relationship with, they kind of think I'm a little soft in my old age. So I think it's we talk about the kids and the players and the prospects a lot, and they have certainly changed, but I think I have as well. Um, I don't know. I mean, if you put 10 people in a room, they might give you 10 different answers. A lot of people talk about entitlement and kids aren't as tough, but they were saying the same thing about my generation, right? The grandparents all walked the 10 miles uphill to school in the snow and the rain and all that kind of stuff. Um, I don't know that the kids have changed as much as maybe society a little bit. They're obviously they have more access to information now than we ever had, right? I ever had, my generation, or even you guys for that matter. So they're inundated with information and different ways of doing different things. They have a tremendous amount of opportunity now between turf fields and indoor complexes and training sites and so they got a lot going on, man. They really do, and I think it's probably more difficult for them to kind of hone in on certain things, and really develop an identity. So I think they might be searching a little more. Um, but I can tell you, the last 26 years at Marietta College, um, we've gotten a lot of great kids, and they don't come to Marietta College, and I don't even think these kids are coming to my lessons if they don't want to work hard and they're not serious about it. So I haven't seen a big difference in how the kids have changed. I think society's changed a little bit. I've changed a little bit. But I'm still very fortunate to be dealing with a lot of kids that love baseball and are willing to work really hard at it.
All right, Coach. Um, I have another question. This is more about the recruiting thing because uh, it didn't Major League Baseball just change their rules to where like they have to be in college. They're not taking high school kids anymore. Didn't they change a rule like that recently?
I haven't seen that one. I know the NCAA just adopted the 5-for-5.
Okay.
So, yeah, NCAA just adopted the 5-for-5 rule, which means any kid, once their high school graduation, I think it's their high school graduation date, and it's either the age of 18 or 19. Once that year passes, they can go play without transferring and getting exemptions. They can play in 5 years, but 5 years after that date, they are no longer eligible. I've had kids that graduated from Marietta College and went on to play elsewhere for 2 more years. Now that was a little bit of a COVID kind of thing, but there's a lot of kids. You watched the College World Series the past 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. I mean, it's a grown man's game. There's 26-year-olds playing college baseball now. So I think they're going to limit that on the back end a little bit with that 5-for-5 rule. And I think it'll also help a little bit with some of these kids reclassifying in high school. I think there's kids
Hmm.
reclassifying and they're playing high school sports when they're 19. And I don't know, what age are you when you're a freshman, 14 or 15?
Yeah,
Yeah,
same.
Um,
14,
so I
15.
think it'll help balance some things out, the 5-for-5 thing. Um, and it'll bring back, a lot of people throw around words like loyalty. And if a kid's got a great opportunity, a kid and his family have a great opportunity, I don't know who in their right mind would hold them back from that. But I think it will promote kids staying in certain places. At least a certain percentage of those kids will stay in certain places a little longer, and they're all going to be done 5 years after they graduate, regardless.
Now, whenever kids are coming right out of high school and you've been kind of scouting them for a little while and been on your radar, what's something that immediately grabs your attention when evaluating the high school, athlete or
Yeah,
student
I
athlete?
mean, skill set is obvious, right? The measurables. I mean, they got to be able to run a little bit, right? They got to be athletic. They got to be able to throw, depending upon their position. They got to generate foot speed, arm speed, and bat speed. I mean, those are the three things that we consistently have looked at for a long time, and people will continue to look at those things. Um, and character, if it's a good teammate, a thing that we watch a lot, and I think kids hear it from a lot of people, but I don't think they realize how important it is. But how they are received by their teammates. I mean, if a kid gets a big hit to win a game and everybody's going crazy, you want to see that. A kid gets a big hit to win a game or just force extra innings, and nobody looks real excited for them. It's kind of a red flag. How they interact with their parents, you know, prior to and after games. All those kind of things are really important. We want, and most programs do. You want kids that can play, obviously, but they've got to be good people. Have some toughness and really great work ethic.
All right, Coach. I I have a kind of a weird question. That's not that weird, but is Division III baseball one of the most underrated in college athletics?
Well, I mean, it depends on who you ask, right?
Hmm.
I think they're really good players. If that's your question, I mean, we've been fortunate to have like 5 or 6 big leaguers graduate just from Marietta College alone. We had a kid this year, Austin Zions, who's from up around Cleveland, played for us for 3 years, and he just got signed an NIL deal with WVU. He's going to a team that just went to the Division I World Series, and he's going over there, and he's getting a really good deal, and I think he's going to help him. As
Hmm.
soon as next year. We've had kids go on more so in the past probably 5-6 years because of the transfer portal. But we've had kids go on to very successful Division I programs. We've had over 80 professional players, I think it is 6 big leaguers. So I think it depends on who you ask and where you're looking. But there's a lot of really good players. You can watch the draft coming up here really soon, I think, and you'll see there'll be a lot of Division III players that go in that draft.
Well,
No, go ahead, Joe.
oh no, no, go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to ask, you being coaching there for the past, 3 decades, one player who's just recently made the news here in Marietta, Turner Hill, I believe played at Marietta College, played at Marietta High School, and has been making a lot of noise in AAA baseball. And from what I understand, is getting close to being called up for the San Francisco Giants.
He's got a shot. He really does. I mean, a little bit of it's timing at that level, right? You got to be at the right place, right time. I do not know the inner workings. You know, I talked to Turner and Steve, his father, quite a bit. Kale, his brother, who's currently, I think, still the head coach at Marietta High School. Have a really good relationship with their family. Yeah, I mean, he's having a monster year, man, and there's nobody, more deserving. That kid works his tail off. He's very dedicated. Is just a super human being. But interesting little insight on Turner. When he graduated high school, Jim Thrash was the head high school coach at Marietta, and Jim was on me for 2 years to recruit him, and I didn't because he was really undersized. And I'm not trying to displace blame here a little bit, but he was a late bloomer physically, so we really didn't recruit him out of high school. And he signed with Malone. He went to Malone College up in the Canton Akron area, and I coached him the summer. I coached 1 year Legion ball. I coached Turner that summer, and about halfway through the summer, I said, "Man, I'm an idiot, right? This kid's a really good player." And in the meantime, his mother had taken a position at Marietta College. She works and still does in the admissions office. So I had a sit down lunch with him. And Turner, being a man of his word, had already committed to Malone, so he went. And he played there, I think, for 2 years. And the second year may have been COVID, may have been that COVID year. So we had a conversation, and he ended up transferring in and playing for us for 2 years, two-time All-American. Played a little independent ball, and then signed with San Francisco. But having a monster summer. Yeah, and a lot of people around here have our fingers crossed that maybe he gets a late season call up, cup of coffee, whatever it might be. And I'm sure if he gets that opportunity, he'll make the most of it.
Oh, sounds like he will. It looks like we lost Rob here. This has happened before. Not sure why. But I'll continue with this interview. Coach, what do you think? What's the biggest misconception that parents and players have when they're getting recruited by colleges?
Yeah, again, it's a little bit of who they are and where they're from. I think there's just so much information as it relates to the college search that people are unaware of, and I don't care if it's the financial side of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many avenues there are to help offset cost. I think this is well known, but if not, the first thing I say to families and groups when I talk to them is the best thing that you can do to offset costs at the college level is knock it out of the park academically, right?
Yeah.
You get upwards of a 3.5 high school GPA, and you're going to help yourself dramatically at any institution anywhere across the country financially. I don't want to say it's the easiest way to do it because I know I did not knock it out of the park academically when I was in high school. Comes a little easier to some than others, but if you really apply yourself and work at it, it's the best way to create options for yourself, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
the college search is about. And then beyond that, I think you just got to make sure you check all the boxes, right? You do a little bit of research yourself between you and your family. Look at places that are of interest to you, academic profile, academic majors, all of those type of things. Athletically, does your skill set meet the institutions that you're considering, whether it's how fast you run or what type of program you're going to go to, right? If you're a guy that can run a little bit, you move the baseball, you know how to play the game, then you want to go to a school like that. You don't want to go to a school that, they're big, hit the ball out of the ballpark, 3-run homer type club. So they got to do a little research. Got to try to hone in on somewhere between 4 and 6 schools that meet your needs, right? What you're trying to accomplish, mostly academically, and then beyond that, you can hone in on the athletic piece, regardless of sport. And then just check the boxes. I mean, I know just locally, there's money out there. My stepson actually went to OU. I can't remember what year he graduated, but he's what is he 28 now, and we found some options for money from him locally. Just write a couple essays and whether it's the Marietta Community Foundation, there's all kinds of options and opportunities out there if you just do a little bit of the legwork and look into some things and create some options for yourself.
Right. That's great info for kids to have because most of them, some of them don't even like try. They're just like, oh well, if I don't get a D1 offer, I'm done. Like I'll just over with sports.
Yeah, those Power Fives don't recruit high school kids anymore, man. Like I
Yep.
said, they got 25, 26-year-olds. I mean, Austin's a good
Mhm.
example, right? You want a 17-year-old kid coming out of high school that's never played college baseball, or you want a kid that's been an All-American and been top 5 or
Yep.
10 in the country in ERA. He's a man, right? He's 20,
Yep.
21, 22 years old. Yeah, the Power Fours and Power Fives, whatever it is nowadays, they're hitting the portal. They're recruiting out of the
Mhm.
portal. They're getting older kids that are established at all levels of college baseball. And again, I think this is true across the board, right? Regardless of sport, but
Yeah.
they're getting men.
Yep.
So I think it's the beauty, really, the last probably 6 to 8 years. I think non-scholarship schools, lower level, let's call it college baseball and all sport, we have had access to a better high school caliber athlete because of that. Now we may sometimes have problems holding on to them, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
As they get a little older and have some success, we may end up losing them. But ultimately, yeah, you gotta try to be as realistic as you can, and that's difficult, obviously, for kids and their families at that age. But you got to just go into it with your eyes open and understand that things change as you grow older.
Yeah. Because I remember the West Virginia team. I believe they had a lot of D2 and D3 guys, like basically almost all of them, and
Yeah,
they made it that far. So
that's common.
yep.
It really is. I have a couple buddies that have kids playing at different places, and they would call me over the course of the last 2 or 3 years. They're at a regional somewhere, Division 1, whether it's a kid at Xavier that started at Walsh. Again, we'll have Austin at WVU next year. He'll probably be playing in a regional and hopefully the World Series again next year. But yeah, as you go, you can look across the board. You look at some rosters, and you'll see there's a lot of transfer. I think it was the guy from Alabama this year said, and after he lost, they got eliminated. He said, "Yeah, we're going to hit the portal hard, and we're going to start tomorrow, right? The day after they lost their last game, and it's a World Series team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not recruiting nearly as much from the high school level as they are in that transfer portal nowadays. It's a little bit of a different animal.
Now, I might have missed this. Sorry. I don't know what happened, but I'm back. Um, in the last couple years, the transfer portal, I guess you guys have been talking about that. In the past few years, the transfer portal has really taken its toll on college athletics. Has it hit Marietta College in your past couple of years?
Yeah, we had never lost a kid up until I believe it was 2 seasons ago. We lost five, and we lost three. With the three kids that would have been our 3, 4, 5 hitters 2 seasons ago. Two guys went to Ball State, and I think between the two of them, they had about 30 home runs and a bunch of RBIs. And we lost another kid to Valpo, Valparaiso, and he was in and out of the lineup, but he played first base. And when he was in the lineup, he was in their top five, I think, in the batting order. So it got us a little bit there. And then, like I said, we would have a returning All American back. They would have a returning All American back next year on the bump, but he's going to be at WVU, playing in the Big 12. So did not hit us. It was later getting here than most places, but it got us. And again, I think when it first started, I didn't like it, but now and having conversations with these kids, I mean, they a lot of them are saving a lot of money, right? They have access to MBAs and graduate programs, that maybe they couldn't have gotten done here. And I mean, think about playing at WVU, man. You get to play. It's like you're going to play in a regional tournament every weekend. You're going to fly all over the country, and you're gonna save some money. It's a different experience, and if they're athletically able to do that and compete at that level, the way I look at it is, who am I to tell them no? I got two grown boys, but my daughter, if she was ever presented with that kind of opportunity, I I mean, it would be her decision ultimately, but I certainly wouldn't want to coach or one of her mentors to hold her back from that. If it's best for the family, it's best for the kid, and then ultimately it's best for all of us.
Accolades wise, and when it comes to players that have come out of Marietta College in its history, who would you say has had the most successful professional career? Like, is there one player in particular that sticks out?
There's a couple. I mean, Kent Colby, back in the day, Teak was a closer, World Series champion for the Pirates, Pittsburgh Pirates, and I think when he retired, I think he had the most relief appearances in the history of Major League Baseball. Terry Mulholland was another guy, a little closer to my era, but Terry, again, at the time of his retirement, I think he was one of maybe two or three guys that had a win against every team in Major League Baseball at that time. Terry had a long, very long, distinguished career. And then Jim Tracy's another one. Jim was, graduated from Marietta College, played a little bit of pro ball, kind of cup of coffee type guy, played a couple years in the Cubs organization and I think maybe one or two other teams, but also went on to manage the Pirates, the Dodgers, and the Rockies. And when he managed the Dodgers, he was National League Manager of the Year for the Dodgers. I don't remember what year it was. Those would be the kind of the big three. But we had Matt DeSalvo pitched for the Yankees and the Braves in the big leagues. We had a kid, Ryan Denick, who pitched in the big leagues for the Reds. Dwayne Tice, longtime minor league guy. I think had a cup of coffee, but several. But Teak, again, it's older generationally, but Teak probably the most established, and Terry Mulholland probably the second most established big leaguer, and then Tracy as far as playing and managing. Those kind of would be the big three probably.
So it's pretty obvious that a lot of these kids coming out of high school who think D1 or bust, D1 or bust. I have to get a D1 scholarship, or I'm not going to get there, and all these other things. You coaching at Marietta College for the past 30 years, seeing players get there is proof that that is a fiction. That's a lie. You can get there no matter where you go. It's just the work you
Yeah.
put in.
We tell kids when we recruit them, unless you're going to LSU or Florida State, right? It's really more about your summer involvement. Whether you can get into a really established collegiate league in the summers, whether the Cape Cod is probably the most notable. But there's the Northern League, the Valley League, the Coastal Plains League, the Great. There's a bunch of them, and that's what scouts are really looking at. And it's the same scouts. That's the other thing. I don't care if you're at Ohio State or Marietta College. It's the same regional scouts that are looking with everybody, and we, as a program, have a really good relationship with those guys. And what they want to know is where are they playing this summer. Summer is like all-star teams, right? In those collegiate leagues, they're like all-star teams, and they're competing against all-stars. So that's really where you can improve your draft stock and value is really good summer as it relates again to baseball specifically. And I'm sure there's similar it's a similar situation or model as it relates to other sports as well.
And you mentioning the summer leagues, that was going to be another question I was going to ask you. Is what is your opinion on travel ball versus rec league? Has it done more favors or has it done more hurt? I feel like in rec league, Joe and I growing up, when you had little league Bronco, all the pony, and that's all you had. We didn't have a whole lot of travel teams going to Orlando and all kind of other stuff. So do you think it's taken away from the ability to lose, for some kids, the ability to struggle and grow as a player?
Yeah, I mean it's regional. It really is. I think it's harder for a travel type organization, in our area just because of the population, right? How many kids we're drawing from. Some people would say travel ball has hurt the game a little bit because travel ball, they don't practice, they just play, right? They don't get a whole lot of instruction, and Um, I think it's a game you have to play to get better. So there's two sides to every argument. I think travel ball is good. I related a little bit to multi-sport athletes, right? I think the more sports you play, as long as you can play them, that's going to help you. I think the more baseball you play, the longer you can, that's going to help you, right? It's going to make you a better player. Playing multiple sports is going to make you a better athlete. Um, I just think they need to coexist, and especially in communities like ours. I think I've been talking with these slugger guys. I don't know if you guys know Jim Brown. He's run the Bantam League for years, and he's just such a great person. And I don't know when or how, but there was a little bit of some local folks thought the Sluggers, right, which would be considered our local travel organization, the Sluggers took away from the Bantam League, and I've been saying for years, why can't they coexist, right? The Slugger kids can play in the Bantam League, right, in the Pony division or the Bronco division, and then, right, in addition to that, they can play travel ball on the weekends or travel ball. The Bantam League's over end of April, I think. I mean, the Bantam League ends really early. Um, and I think they're starting to work on that relationship a little bit, which I think is the best of both worlds. They also don't want the Sluggers playing in the Bantam League, because then the Sluggers are going to win every game by 20 runs, and that's not going to be fun for anybody, right? So I think they just have to sit around a table and talk and be adults, right? And be the adults in the room and work it out. And I do think they're leaning towards that. I went to a great tournament this past weekend in Lowell. Where it was like they had 9U clear up to I think 12U, and it was specifically designed to be an all-star tournament. So like you just mentioned, it was the all-stars from Mineral Wells and the all-stars from the Bantam League and all those kind of things, and it was really fun to watch. And it was I really enjoyed that, and I think there's certainly a way that those two type of organizations can coexist, and I think that would really, I think it would benefit the game, right? Because then you're keeping more kids playing, and maybe the month of April, right? It's the Bantam League, and then once the Bantam League wraps up, you can start picking those select teams and be a little more travel ball oriented. But I would love to see it. I think it would help baseball in this area, and I think it would help the game in general.
Yeah, it would definitely benefit the area as well. I feel like a lot of people, kind of take their kid away from rec ball just because, all the other kids are going to be on stacked travel teams and they're not going to be a part of, you know, it's kind of like being in a classroom. You can't just put all the high level students in one group and then put the students who kind of lag a little ways behind, and just put them in. You have to put them together, coincide with one another for everybody to learn and get a good experience. So
The
uh,
magic word nowadays is diversity, right?
yeah,
You got diversity is good for everybody.
yeah,
Um,
especially in sports too.
Yep.
100% helps with leadership.
Hmm.
like
Like,
like the Dodgers
yeah.
or the Mets.
Yeah.
We could talk
Mets,
about.
not so much.
How are the Mets doing? Yeah, how are the Mets
Yeah,
doing?
yeah, they got a $500 million roster, but they last place in their division, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made a big error today. Juan Soto, it was the first hitter of the game. He had inside the park because he missed the ball. Then the center fielder tried to pick it up with his glove, and then he kicked that away, and then it was inside the park. First batter.
That's chemistry, right? Chemistry. It's I always said I think one of the toughest jobs in the world would be to manage or coach, right? Head coach, whatever sport it is, a big league roster. When the players are making more than you, considerably more than you, right? And you're supposed to be the leader. It's hard to tell these guys what to do and not to do. And when guys are getting paid millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to hit the ball out of the ballpark, it's tough to ask them to bunt or move a runner, right? Hit a ground ball to second and get a guy in from third with less than two outs. Um, but that's big league stuff. That's pro, major league, whatever it is. I think to our point, right? To the youth organizations and such. I think it's better to have that, right? And you want to give the kids that um, are going to benefit from playing a higher level, right? A higher caliber. You don't want to take that opportunity away from them. So you just have to, right? So again, sit around a table and have an adult-like conversation and realize this is what we're going to do. It's going to benefit both sides of this talent-wise, and we're going to give everybody an opportunity to develop their game and themselves, right, overall.
Speaking of pro ball, okay, we do have some questions to get into when it comes to Major League Baseball, but I have to ask you something. As you mentioned the Pirates, okay, I'm a Pirate fan, and I was gonna save this for our regular show, Joe, for a Rob crash out maybe, but I got to get your opinion on something. Okay, I want to give you a stat. Okay, I'm a big stats guy. Joe will tell you I'm big on batting average and all those things, but really the main stat is wins and losses. 60 and 24. 60 wins, 24 losses. That would be the Pirates' record if the Pirates' games ended after 7 innings. Instead, their record is 42 and 43, I think. What is your opinion on this nonsense?
It's funny. It's funny that you bring up that exact situation. A good friend of mine, Bobby Hoy, we're trying to golf one day a week now for the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks. He's a huge Pirates fan, and every Tuesday, and when I get in the car with him to go to wherever we're going to go and golf, he says they're at 500, right, or they're a game below or a game above 500, but we've blown 18 leads, or we've blown whatever. Our bullpen is terrible, and it was supposed to be a strength of ours. And I will say this. I mean, it's again, it's a different game, but I will say, and I don't remember when, but Jim Tracy told me one time. He said the hardest part of being a big league manager, what differentiates the good ones from the great ones, is your ability to manage a bullpen. Um, when to throw guys, when not to throw guys. It's just really tough. And you think, I don't know, what is 160 whatever games, right? It's a it's a lot of baseball, man, and you got to manage those arms. Um, but yeah, I'm not a huge. So I'm, like I mentioned, I'm from Baltimore. Back to the Teak thing, he beat the Orioles were up 3-1. I don't know if you remember this, Robbie, but 3-1. I think it was 79, right? That was the We Are Family Pirates team. Those were up 3-1, and Tecole was on that team. I think he had 2 saves and a win or something like that. But yeah, they came back and beat us. So while I'm not a Pirates fan, I got a close friend that is one, and I'm believe me, I'm feeling your pain through my conversations with my buddy Bobby on the Pirates bullpen or lack of.
And whatever happened to letting pitchers pitch long into a game? I mean, the complete games and things. I know you can't rely on that every single game, but my goodness, when you got Keller and, well, Skeens, he hasn't been pitching real well lately, but when you got Keller and all the talent you have there, and they pull them, if you notice that the bullpen's a problem, maybe wait until you need a closer. I don't know.
Yeah, they train different. They just train differently now. More pitchers train to throw harder, and hitters train to hit better velocity. So they don't train to throw however many innings a big league pitcher used to throw. I mean, it's just it's the and again, I hate to keep going back to Kent, but Kent was a guy. You didn't have one inning. You didn't used to only have one inning guys either. The guys used to go in for saves 2-3 innings. They used to go in there and pitch 2-3 innings. So yeah, you had a starter and a closer. Right, starter would give you a quality start was typically 7 innings. Quality start was 7, and then you turned it over right in the 7th or 8th to your closer, and it was ball game. Right, that's back with the Teak and the Goose Gossage and those kind of guys. Yeah, you don't see that. They got to set up. They got a 7th inning guy. They got an 8th inning guy, and they got a back end guy. I don't like it either, but I can tell you it's just the way they train now. From the time they're 13 years old, or 14 years old. Until they get older, and I, personally, I don't think they throw enough. I was talking to a couple of buddies the other day. I don't know if you guys remember, but when the Braves had the 420 game winners, and what was his name, Leo, the pitching coach, they threw. I mean, they threw every 4 days, and Maddox and Glavine and
Smoltz.
Yeah, Smoltz, and I mean, they threw every 4th day. They 420 game winners, and I think it's like a muscle. I mean, the more you got to work it, you got to practice it, but that's just not the way they prep now. They want to throw. Quality start is now 5 innings, right? And you do. I mean, every staff in big league ball has a sixth inning guy, a seventh inning guy, eighth inning guy, and a back end guy. Different game, and not one that obviously I've ever been a part of. I mean, our Coach Shalley, who was our head coach here for 40 years, always say when your best guy's ready, he pitches. And I mean, if he starts on Saturday and we got a midweek on Wednesday and he can come in and give us 3 or 4, he's going to throw 3 or 4, and then he's going to start again that following Saturday. Yeah, different game, different mindset, different mentality, and a lot of guys making a lot of money, so it's above my pay grade.
Well, unless you got Mizorowski, then you can go 7-8 innings because he only throws like 85 pitches.
How about Strasburg? Do you guys remember Strasburg?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that you talk about a colossal fail, right? They would shut him down. They shut him down for like the second half of a whole year because they weren't in the mix, and then they wouldn't let him throw more than like 80 to 90 pitches for a couple of years, and then he still ended up blowing out his elbow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's a right answer, but I know again they just view these people as investments, and they're trying to protect their investments.
Well, the Pirates don't invest in much, I'll say that.
Yeah, that's right.
Well.
They don't want them to look too good anyway.
I know. Until they get the salary floor, and then Bob Nutting will sell the team. Then he won't want to pay that money. Joe,
Coach, I have a question here for you. It's kind of like a Major League Baseball, but kind of baseball in general. What's your opinion on robot umpires?
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have a guy behind the plate just for safe out calls at the plate. When you say robot, you mean the pitch, whatever it is that they're using now,
ABS.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you can keep pace of play, I'm all for it. They've done everything. I mean, they've changed the game, right? You can only throw over this many times, and you got the eye contact, the pitch clock, the play clock, and that's even true at the college level, the play clock, pitch clock thing. I always thought the most beautiful thing about baseball was there was no clock. But it did get it's the whole ADD, right? We've all got it, the entire society, and you can't have a 4-hour baseball game. People just aren't going to tune in for it. So it goes back to the product piece. You got to speed the games up. As long as it doesn't delay, I don't want any umpires to lose their jobs. You're going to have safe out. I think you got to have a guy at each base to make those calls. But if you can keep pace of play up, I'd be all for it. I think if you ever have the ability to get every call right, then why wouldn't you? Again, barring some kind of major delay.
Yeah.
Now, one example that Joe and I brought up about this not too long ago is think about it being Game 7, World Series. You got bases loaded, 3-2 count. Okay, pitch comes across the plate, calls it a strike, game's over. But the batter does the helmet tap. Okay, and then it turns out being a ball, and they walk in the winning run to walk off and win a World Series. Like, I don't know. Do you think it should be situational, or I mean, because imagine a World Series ending that way.
Yeah, I think. I mean, my response to that would be the two teams playing in that World Series. That if you don't use that same technology early in the year, that could change that, right? They might not even win Game 7 of the divisional play, or divisional 3. I think is only 5, but of the ALCS, maybe So yeah, I think if you're going to use in the NCAA, this has come up in the NCAA a little bit. You have some optional things that you can do now, like that we have a safe base, and there's a couple other things, checking the hands and gloves and all that stuff. So you have the option of doing it over the course of the regular season as the home team, right? You can choose to have a safe base. You can choose as a league. I think you can choose to have the umpires check pitchers for foreign substances. But then when you get to the postseason, right? I've said you get to the postseason, it can't be optional, right? You can't. So I don't think you can play all year. Like if we choose not to have a safe base, right, at Marietta College, and then we get to the postseason and we don't host a region, we have to go somewhere else to play it, and they choose to play with the safe base. That's not fair to our kids. Our kids haven't played with a safe base all year, and it can make a huge difference. So I think the rules should be the rules. I don't care if it's minus preseason games. And I think whether it's regular season, postseason, conference, regional, World Series, whatever it is, I think the rules need to be consistent throughout.
That's a good answer. Um, one other question that Joe and I asked on here not too long ago is in today's world of sports. We always talk about how if Dan Marino were in the NFL now, he would throw for 6,000 yards and 57 touchdowns. It'd be ridiculous. If you put Michael Jordan in today's game, he would average 50 to 60 points a game. Or the games are always evolving, whether it's better or worse. Do you think baseball has evolved in a way of like? Do you think of Barry Bonds could come in today's league and hit 70 homers off of Paul Skeens on 104, or do you think baseball is more the same as it was then?
I mean, it's cyclical, right? You kind of said. I mean, I think I don't watch nearly as much big league baseball now as I used to because I can't stand strikeouts. Um, I do think it's starting to sway back a little bit. It's just not the same game. When I watch baseball, I don't care if it's 1-0 or if it's 13-12, but I want to see baseball. I want to see baseball plays. I don't want to see. I don't care if the guy's throwing 104. If he doesn't know where it's going, right? I want to see guys pitch and I want to see guys hit. I don't. And this goes to the training piece a little bit. I think kids now learn a swing. I don't want kids that have good swings. I want kids that know how to hit. Right? There's a big difference, and it's kind of something we talk. I talk with our guys a little bit when we're doing lessons and stuff. And you can see some of these kids. I mean, they're 10 years old, man, and they're swinging straight uphill, and they don't care if they swing and miss 3 times. If they hit one ball that they think is going to go out, they're happier than a pig in mud, right? So I think the game, and it goes back to it's entertainment. Right? I mean, you guys remember it was actually that Braves team, right? The pitchers, chicks dig the long ball, right?
Yeah.
They just it used to be a joke. Now it's they live by it. I mean, it's guys are getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars to hit 220, but hit 50 home runs.
Yeah,
You know,
Joe and I talk about that all the time with
yeah, that that
Kyle
that that
Schwarber.
doesn't interest me. Yeah, that
Well,
that doesn't interest me. I
well,
like to see baseball plays.
it's just like from like 10 years ago, there were guys that they got ridiculed because they were these guys. Like Adam Dunn for the Reds, he would hit 50 home runs, but his batting average would be like 198 and strike out 200 times.
Yeah,
And they
And
would be
now
all over him on TV. Yeah.
he get
yeah.
paid like $300 million just to he'd be on the Dodgers probably or something.
Yeah, hitting 50. That's it. I mean, I remember Dave Kingman. I mean, there were guys again. This I'm older, but yeah. I mean, it was if you struck out more than 150 times in a big league season, nobody wanted you.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted you. Now they were only hitting 30 home runs back then, but yeah, that's just to me. I don't enjoy watching that. I like guys that hit the all fields and guys that can get a guy in from third base with less than 2 outs with a ground ball to second base, and that's more the game to me, and it's what I enjoy. And honestly, college baseball is not nearly as bad, but it's changed a little bit too. But it's still fun. I enjoy watching it much more now. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think it's those at that level, whether it's the NBA, MLB, or the NFL, it's just more about entertainment now than it is about the sport, right? And playing the game. It's about physicality or lack of, right? They don't want people getting hurt, so they can't beat up on each other like they used to beat up on each other in the NFL. In the NBA. I mean, I remember the Pistons and the
Mhm.
Jordan rules and all
My
that stuff.
goodness, yeah.
But even the NFL, man, it scares me. How they Jack Tatum and Ronnie Lott and guys like that used to, they can't even hit them high now, and that's really it's kind of been counterproductive because they're blowing out knees because they got to hit them low.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. I think they're trying to protect the investment and make it more entertaining. But yeah, they're at the professional level. There's a lot of differences now. It's a little less about the game and more about the product and the entertainment value.
Man, could you imagine Jerry Rice in today's game as a wide receiver? My goodness gracious.
Basketball is the big one for me. I mean, I don't watch the NBA a whole lot, but I couldn't turn off what Wemby. I mean, to watch that guy do what he does is just, it's he's one of the most amazing athletes. You know, he does. Um, but they don't, they can't touch each other, can't do anything else, and then they just beat each other in the playoffs. It's um, but yeah, it's different, and but they are freakish, man. What these people are able to do now physically. I don't care if it's an offensive, defensive, 440s, 300-pound running 440s. I mean, it's crazy to see what these guys can do. And it is fun and it is entertaining. I went and watched. We've got a kid playing in the banana ball league, and
I love that.
I went and watched him last summer. I think he actually played at PNC. We went to PNC and watched him play. And I mean, it's almost like all sports are like that. It's just more about not to that extent, but it's more about entertainment than really the spirit kind of the games at that level. I enjoy watching college sports way more than I do big league stuff.
Oh, that was another question I meant to ask you. College wise, other than Pioneer Park, okay, you can't be biased, or you can, that's fine. What's the best field, the nicest stadium that you've ever been to or coached in, other than Pioneer Park? Pioneer Park's beautiful, by the way. I love that park.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. I mean, obviously, we went to the World Series several times, and those have always been held in minor league complexes. For the last several years, we've been going down to Greensboro to start off the year and play the Greensboro Grasshoppers, and there's minor league facilities on the either side of Greensboro, or right around the Charlotte area in North Carolina. Both beautiful facilities. Can't remember the Timber Rattlers, I think, was like a high A club for the Brewers that we played in the World Series a few years in Appleton, Wisconsin. Cedar Rapids, in I think it was 22, we went to the World Series out there and played the Cedar Rapids Park. Was really nice. So we've been fortunate because of our success. But even Berry College in Georgia, we usually stop down on our way to or from Florida. They have a beautiful facility at Berry College in Rome, Georgia. Piedmont College down in Georgia has a really nice facility. And there's a lot of good ones. In those minor leagues, I've really enjoyed the minor leagues. They're just not too big, right? You play in some of those big league stadiums and you get swallowed up a little bit. But yeah, we have been very fortunate. I've been very fortunate over my career to play in some really sweet facilities. But yeah, my favorite is definitely Pioneer Park.
Joe, got anything else?
No, I think. Oh no, I did. This is an important question.
Oh yeah.
Every guest. What is your favorite Gatorade flavor?
Gatorade?
Yes, sir.
I don't drink a lot of it. My daughter swallows it like it's water. I'd probably go red, just because. But I do like the was it G2, which is the sugar free.
Yeah.
No,
I think it's zero now, but it was G2
zero.
before.
Yeah, so zero, Gatorade zero. But yeah, I'd go red. I think just because it reminds me of fruit punch, and I love me some fruit punch.
The fruit punch is good. That is a good one.
Can't beat it.
My favorite's the lemon lime, even the zero. That like when that's ice cold.
I'll tell you. Have you been to Neater's Cone and Shake? Neater's Diner.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Neater's Diner. Yeah, that's cherry royal slush, and they have a lemon lime. So the next time you're in town, Joe, you hit Neater's Diner and get you a lemon lime royal slush. It's half slushy, half ice cream, and it is out of this world.
All right, I'm gonna have to do that then.
Also, this here in the next couple of days, actually, here in downtown Marietta on Front Street, Derailed Distillery is coming out with a strawberry vodka that I highly recommend that you go. They have over 500 pre-orders on, so get them while the supplies are there. So I'll be flying out of there. Yeah. So definitely check them out. That's who this live is brought to you by the way, Derailed Distillery. But my last question: when people look back on your career years from now, what do you hope your legacy is as a coach, as a mentor, and as a person overall? What's something that
Yeah,
you want to be
I
remembered?
was really fortunate to inherit a really good situation. Coach Jolly and the Merida College baseball fraternity built this program. He started as the head coach at Merida College in 1964 and coached for 40 years.
Wow.
Some people kind of looked at me like I was crazy to, be the guy after the guy kind of thing. But he handpicked me, which was probably the biggest compliment outside of my wife saying I do. Right, him telling me he wanted me to be the next guy was the biggest compliment and the biggest vote of confidence I had ever received. Um,
And
so
that's
I
who's in
just,
that picture. With that's who's in that picture with
yeah,
you.
yeah, that's Coach Shalley. Yeah, so I
Okay.
think the fact that I hope I added to the tradition a little bit, but at least was able to carry it on. And in my 22 as the head, we won 3 national championships and basically got a new facility. Um, so I would hope that people, um, you know, I don't know if recognize is important, but remember that it didn't tail off. I mean, we maintained a high level of success on the field, and just as important is the product we put out there off the field. I mean, again, I think I mentioned it earlier, but the kids that we have had in our program and their families, they leave here better people. It's the most rewarding part. The national championships are great, and the wins are great, and all those things have been fantastic. But to see these kids go out into the world, the real world, and be great husbands and great fathers and great employees, just great human beings, is really the thing that I'm most proud of. And the people, right? I'm proud of the people that have left this program. That's the biggie for me.
Oh, and this community is very family based, anyways. So then you
Marietta
bring.
College baseball doesn't exist and doesn't achieve a third of the success if not for this community. I mean, this program was built. I don't know if you guys have been out to the park, but we've got a 3-story press box out there, and I tell people all the time it got finished my freshman year, so it was fall of '89, spring of '90. That 3-story press box was built by basically Paul Erb, who was our groundskeeper at the time, Don Shalley, and Ken Strawler. Ken owned Strawler Masonry here in town, and Ken was the president of the local home builders association back then. And they put that thing up like a barn raising. I mean, Marietta College didn't have a penny in it. It was all free labor. All the materials were donated. Um, Terry Mulholland was very instrumental in the lights, but we had a local electrician, Brad Griffin, that went above and beyond and what he did. And I can tell you, in the 30 years that I've coached there, we never wanted for anything. If I don't care if it was a um, ball diamond mix or fencing or whatever. There wasn't a person in the community we couldn't call and ask for help, and they would be there within 5 minutes if necessary to help us out. Yeah, the community, and it's not just Marietta. I mean, like I said, it's really the entire Mid Ohio Valley has rallied around and given our program and Marietta College as a whole. I don't want to speak for the college as a whole, but that relationship is truly special and has been beneficial, I think, for both. But certainly the baseball program will be forever indebted to this community.
Well, it's growing and growing and growing between Don Drum Stadium, and that's I love that stadium. It's gorgeous. I love the gray two-tone turf, and then you have the soccer field, which is amazing to me. I love the blue turf. I know that they had to go, leaps and bounds to try and get the blue turf approved because of Boise State, being the only school having blue turf. I know
Yeah,
that was a big thing. And then the softball field
phenomenal.
is amazing.
They're getting lights put up right now. They're getting lights in there. I think they're putting in the standard stuff right now. So yeah, it's remarkable. And I Joe Clappety's been really in. He's his son played football here. I think Joe's actually a graduate at Dubuque out in Iowa, but he was on the board for years. And Joe has been incredibly instrumental in most of it, if not all those other facilities, and the development of it. But Joe's been great, and the community again. The community as a whole is
Mm.
one, just allowing those things to happen, right? And two, their involvement and support of the programs and the facilities has been crazy. You just don't go to a lot of there's several places, small college towns especially, you go to, and there's a little bit of a rift and a little bit of a rivalry a lot of times between the community and the college. That just doesn't exist here. It's what's makes this relationship and this place so special, is that bond between the community and the college.
Man, I don't know how I would have fared on a turf field. I'm sure everything's just so much faster. Like the
It
ball.
depends. I mean,
You don't have to
really
worry about the
control
bad
that.
hop hitting you in the face.
Yeah, you can
hit a
control that. It's
stone.
all about the feel. You can make it fast, slow, however you want. The only thing I'll tell you, and I tell you this because I was out there at 9 o'clock this morning doing some lessons with 10-year-old kids. It is hot. It is super hot, and it's going to be crazy hot this week. But yeah, the temperature differential is amazing, and I don't even. They say that blue won't make a difference, but I find that hard to believe. It's got to be
like standing on asphalt.
Oh man, it is super hot, for sure. But it's awesome, and yeah, I know the college is very proud of the facilities that they're currently offering.
Well, yeah, I appreciate everything you're doing for the kids and keeping the knowledge of the game and the teaching of the game the right way alive. I know that you train one of my best friend's kids, little Bennett. He's little all-star, had a walk-off in one of his previous games, and maybe that's a little shout out and a kudos to your training and his character and what you're trying to build there. So
yeah, I think it's more about him and his family, but
oh yeah,
I'll take any kudos I can get. No, he's a great kid. Yeah, I really
he
enjoy
is
working with those guys.
he is definitely
I'll tell you
a
too, and I just real quick,
huh?
I mentioned this to you the other day, Robbie. It's I appreciate what you guys are doing. I think the fact that you're trying to get some exposure and maybe even opportunities for the local folks, I think is special. I think there's a lot of benefits to being in a small community like this and those relationships, but the fact that you guys are giving these kids some exposure, is only going to help them. And I kudos to you guys for what you're trying to do, and I really appreciate it, and I know the community does as a whole.
Well, we're trying. We have some big plans coming up for sure. So definitely stay tuned. Stay tuned for those, and we'll be on the lookout for if you give us a list of some of the kids that you train and BSB. I'll be happy to go to some of these little league games and and give some shout outs to the kids at that age or Pee Wee football or anything like that. We're not just married and dedicated to high school pros and college. It starts.
There's a big tournament. I think it's 2 weeks. The Sluggers are hosting a tournament down at the Manama League fields.
Okay.
So I'll get you some info on that. But yeah, if the local folks are looking for anything to do, I think it's 2 weeks from now. But yeah, they're gonna have a bunch of teams coming in from out of town, and I think they'll fill the place up down there. So it'll be a pretty good opportunity.
It's almost like what's that called, Joe? Beast of the East.
Beast of the East, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Beast of the East tournament. Yeah. But yeah, that's awesome. Definitely give us that info, and I'll try and make a stop down there and do some little kids the spotlight there. But thank you again so much for coming on the show. We appreciate your baseball knowledge. You just coming on talking baseball with us and being a part of the show.
Appreciate the opportunity. Anything I can do to help you guys out, just give me a holler and let me know.
Thanks so much.
All right,
well,
thank you so much, Coach.
Folks, this was Coach Brian. Main man down here, depending on where he is on your screen. That's Joe. And then I'm your host, Rob, and we'll see you here tomorrow night as we have guest Todd Morris to come on and talk some World Cup with us. So we'll see you on the next one.